Let's get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Today on the Prenup Podcast with holistic dating coach Amy Nobile Messing. Welcome to another episode of the Prenup Podcast. I am so excited today to have Amy Nobile Messing with me.
Yay! Thank you so much.
I'm laughing because we're Zooming from like two areas of the city away from each other, but because both of our schedules are crazy and it's the holidays, this is the greatest excuse to use, a Zoom portal.
Yeah, I'm all in. I love it.
So Amy is a holistic dating coach. She has basically, honestly, kind of coined this 4-month process, right? Where you get into the nitty gritty with someone and you help them learn how to communicate, which is my favorite thing in the world. We're going to get into communication later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love if you introduced yourself.
Yeah. So thank you. That was a beautiful intro. So this is the biggest plot twist of my life. I never thought in a million years I was out last night at a holiday event, and it's like weird when people are like, and what do you do? Like everyone was in finance. They're like, and what do you do? I'm like, I'm a holistic dating coach. And the reactions just like range, right? People are like, what? So I'm decidedly not a matchmaker, and we can get into that. I don't believe that matchmakers actually work. And I have some data that I can talk about, but I met my now new husband on Bumble after catapulting myself out of a 20-year marriage, and never thought in a million years that I would A, get divorced, B, meet the love of my life on the other side of it, and then C, help people all over the country of all ages and all stripes find love. So here we are.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so where did you grow up?
I grew up outside of Detroit.
And growing up, parents married? Divorced?
So parents divorced when I was 18, very tumultuous and not great to watch. I was never close to my stepdad, who was in my life from age 2. So love for me growing up, which it's a question I have on my intake form for clients. What does love look like? What did love look like? And for me, it was really rough. It was really rough.
So this person was in your life early, but your parents didn't split up till you were much older.
Exactly. And it was just an unhappy, like many people will recount their stories. It's just an unhappy marriage, and one in which my mom was always compromising for this person. My mom did not have a voice in the marriage, and it was sort of like a dictatorship, to be honest. And I didn't grow up, I love my mom, but my mom didn't have a voice until much later. And I grew up kind of watching a woman be very subservient. And so I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't really have the path.
You knew early on that like the example that was in front of you for a relationship was not necessarily the best. Like you could tell as a child?
I could tell my mom was not happy. And it was more of it was almost like a transactional partnership. It didn't feel like a caring love where you feel cherished and where someone is making your happiness, their own. It just felt like it was two different people, two different lives that they sort of intersected, and sometimes it was okay and sometimes it was really unpleasant. And I just remember when I was little thinking like, what is this for?
Did you ever talk to them about it? Were you ever like, are you happy?
No. Another question I now have on my intake form for clients is like, what was the emotional maturity in your family growing up? And the family I grew up in was like grin and bear it. We don't talk about emotions. And it was very much you earned love based on achievement. And I cannot tell you how many clients I now have where that's the wound, is the earning love wound. But that was me growing up. So I just did my best to get all A's and get the lead in the play or whatever it was, so that I felt like I was proving my love in some way.
Did you have any siblings?
I did. I have a little brother who is 6 years younger, and yeah.
Do you guys have a relationship?
No, to be honest, not really. And I adore him. He was there for the birth of my daughter and took photos. He's an amazing photographer. But much like my mother, he kind of followed in her footsteps of like being a real, like sort of very independent person, really kind of shy of building relationships, family or otherwise. So I've done my work in trying,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to mourn the relationship that you wish you would have had with people. And I wish him the best. I'm always sending him good energy and love.
But I think that's also such a reflection of the work that you've done yourself, right? Which is sometimes the best way to love somebody is not to love them like right there, right? It's to love them
Well,
from afar.
totally. And to not shame yourself for or blame yourself for the relationship. It's like, I really do feel like I have tried multiple different times and ways to forge some sort of relationship. And like, even if you were to be listening right now, I would say, Evan, I'm sending you so much love. And I think so much of him.
Yeah.
And it's just the way that it is. It's not a judgment on anybody. It's just, it is what it is.
So, okay. So you grow up in Detroit. What age did you leave Detroit? Like, tell me college, undergrad, grad school. What was your trajectory?
Yeah, I love this. No one ever really cares about this part. So I knew pretty early on that I wanted to get out. No offense to Detroit, it's much different place to live now. For me, when you sort of know in your soul, like on a gut level, like it was not my place.
Mm-hmm.
And I had these visions of New York City. I'd never been there, but when I was little, I'm like, I'm going to New York City. To me was like just nirvana. And to me, it was like the ultimate, you can be anything you want in New York,
Yeah,
right? Like,
you
and it's
can.
true. So I applied. I saw a couple of people I knew who were ahead of me go to this tiny college called Albion, and they had this New York arts program. So they went to this
Oh,
tiny school in Michigan, and then they go on this New York arts program, and then they moved to New York. So for me, I was like, I want that. So I applied to this little college, got in. Lo and behold, my senior year, did the New York arts program. I was an intern for NBC, so for Saturday Night Live and
amazing.
like Law and Order and David Letterman. And I, with $200 in my pocket, moved to New York City right after graduation, and that was it.
I love that. Wow, so you saw that opportunity and you were like, that is my bridge to get to New York.
Yeah. Yeah. That I've always kind of been like that. It's like, let me just figure out my path. Let me find the path. I'll figure it out somehow. And my mom was, we were super codependent. My mom was like crying, but she was basically putting me on the plane. Like, you have to do this.
What about your dad? How did that relationship?
Yeah. So my stepdad, we just were never close. It just was never, as much as I tried, we never had much of a relationship. And when my little brother was born, they were super close. So it was really hard for me to see that. It's like hard to think like maybe it's because he's not my real dad. I don't know. So when I was 18, they divorced, and it felt like such a long time coming. I was like, thank
Maybe
God.
a relief.
It was a relief. It really was. And we just did not have much of a relationship at that point. So I knew I was on my own for college to pay for it, to do everything. And I was okay with that. Yeah.
Also, in a way, you don't owe anyone anything that way. It's like
Yeah.
completely you.
Yeah, exactly. And it really taught me what grit is all about and how do you work 4 jobs and put yourself through college. But yeah.
And what about your biological father? Did you ever?
Yeah, so I knew of him and cut to when I was 25 years old in New York City, dating my now ex-husband. I somehow just got the idea to make a phone call, and I looked him up. I
Wow.
knew his name, and he was in Detroit, and I said hi. And I said, I think I'm your daughter. And he just said, don't hang up. I need to switch phones, but don't hang up. And so I just had a big giant notebook in front of
Oh,
me, and I just asked a million questions. And he was actually at our wedding when we got married, my
oh
ex.
my goodness. Wow. Okay. Let's just like for a second. So 25, you reach out to him. He's receptive.
Yeah.
Did you feel that there was some sort of, actually, I don't want to even say ask you what you felt. What did you feel? Right? What were these? I could put some ideas, but it's not mine.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I was shocked that he was receptive. I had fully expected him to either hang up or answer my questions. So I had information. I wanted medical information. I did have questions. He said to me on the phone, the first thing he said was, I always thought Oprah Winfrey would like find me and say, I found your daughter, you know? And it was really funny. And he had been told by my stepfather, who legally adopted me when I was 2, he had been told to never look for me, that I might not even know about him. So he's just the most gentle, awesome person. And I just immediately felt like this feels like home to me in a way that I never felt with my stepdad. It was like felt like I was trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. And even though I didn't really know him, I felt like, okay, this just feels warm and soft and safe. And feels different.
This is the piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you are living in New York at this point. You reconnect with your father,
Mm-hmm.
and you are now with your ex-husband, your first husband.
Uh-huh.
You haven't gotten married yet. You're dating in the city. How did you guys meet?
Yeah, we met at our first job. It's kicking it old school, like it always used to happen. Like we were on a project at a PR firm together, and that was it.
At that time, were you in a space where you were like, okay, I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want this
No.
life? Or were you just, it just happened?
Yeah, no. Nope. I was really focused on my career. I was supporting myself. I wanted to build my own life. And I was that woman that you dated that was like, oh, I don't really need you. Like, you're fine and fun, but I don't really need you. And almost to a fault. And so, we dated. And then all of a sudden, it's sort of like, I don't know, everyone around us started getting engaged. It was like weird. It was sort of like all the fish were swimming upstream together. And I kind of fell into, okay, I guess this is what we're doing and this is what we should be doing, and I have so many clients in their 30s right now experiencing the same thing of like, oh my gosh. But at that time we were in our 20s. It feels crazy
That's
to me.
wild.
Yeah. Like
I
what?
do I do think I see a lot of people now that I'm in the space of meeting couples that are divorced, is that it's so often it's the person at the right time, maybe not the right person, but
Hmm.
because everyone else around is, you know, doing
Yeah.
it, right? It's like that classic song that's like, "Let's fall in love, bees do it." Like,
Yeah.
like everyone
Yeah.
does it. So
Yeah. It
is
was
that kind of what
wild.
you were feeling?
Yeah, it was a bubble. It was this interesting bubble. It felt right. And I think when we were in our late 20s, it felt like a really good thing to do. And we were a
Yeah.
really good fit at that time. Like I was an
Yeah.
ultra people pleaser, ultra caregiver, and he was someone who, bless his heart, really wanted to be taken care of. And it worked. It really did. And it was fun. We had so much fun.
I love that. How many years were you all married?
20.
Oh, yeah, you said that earlier. That's impressive in itself, honestly. That's amazing.
Well, I think
So,
it's interesting. I feel like a long marriage has become a status symbol. I
mhm.
don't necessarily know that it's warranted because I think a lot of,
What is it that like 75% of people that are actually married are unhappy in their marriages? It's like a
yeah, I mean, you
crazy
probably know
number.
all the stats. I do think that we need to redefine what happiness in marriage looks like and feels like. And we'll talk about this more, but I do believe that, you know, I teach to these 4 pillars of aligned love, and I teach people how to intentionally date. I feel like we've never been taught how to do that. So we look for butterflies, thank you, Disney. And if we do feel them, that's kind of unique to feel, right? We feel this chemistry and we
Mhm.
feel like this is it. And everything else is going to just click into place and we're going to ride off into the sunset. And I have 60-year-old clients coming to me who still believe that, right? We've never been taught anything other. So it all seemed to be, listen, we had a really nice marriage. Like we're very amicable. Our kids are
Amazing.
like, now our kids are 21 and 22, and they will literally say, thank God you guys are so much happier now. But they do appreciate the process. They appreciate the marriage while we were in it because we had some really great times, but they also knew, like, thank you for not torturing us.
When did things start to shift for you, right? Where you were like, maybe this isn't forever.
Yeah, it's such a good question and so hard sometimes to really pinpoint it. We were in San Francisco. We had our kids in San Francisco. We did a stint in Boston and we came back to New York when the kids were in 4th and 5th grade. And it was sort of that point where I kind of was contemplating like, all the things. Who am I now? And what do I want in my life? And do our core values and do the things we want really still match? And so I think, and I was deep into meditation at that point. I was going deep into my spirituality. And that really does ask you to go deep, and it asks you to unearth so much about why am I here on this earth? Who am I with? And what am I doing? And what's my purpose? And all of these things. And it was really, really hard for me. I was in therapy for 3 years trying to contemplate this. It's like, if nothing is egregiously wrong, then what right do I have to stick a knife in this and really upset my kids? But I really relied at that point on my gut instinct, and I knew that there was something on the other side, and I knew that there was more for each of us. I knew
Wow.
it. And to let that be enough was like the hardest thing I've ever done.
How did you approach that with your husband?
Yeah. We just had a conversation. I asked him to talk, and it wasn't a huge shock. I mean, we had been through some stuff and we had been in therapy, but to really make a definitive and say, no, 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 this is what I want and this is going to happen, was really, really super scary, and then telling the kids is the worst thing you'll ever do. And I mean, I think I used the words conscious uncoupling, and my kids were like, what the hell are you talking about? They're like, you're a weirdo. We don't like, what? Just show us.
Thank
Don't
you,
tell us.
Gwyneth. Thank you, Gwyneth, for
I
giving
know.
us the term.
And I actually said that recently. We were meeting and I said that to her, and she's like, I'm so sorry.
Honestly, though, like, I think people have given it such a bad rep when the reality is more people should be doing it, right?
Yes.
Like, people
Yes.
aren't necessarily graceful or conscious when they separate. And if anything, we should be taking lessons, right? Like, this is
I
wild.
agree. I think she was so on the mark there, and it really helped a lot of people reframe that it's not this evil, awful thing, that you're still a family on some level.
You're always going to be, if you have children, you will always be in each other's lives. And I think a lot of people somehow forget that in the midst of the chaos is there's going to be graduations, there's going to be weddings, there's going to be grandkids. This person is not going to be out of your sphere. They might
Yeah.
not bed anymore. They might not be in your home anymore, but they're still going to be in your life. So how do you make it work?
Yeah, I remember there was a moment after we had separated. It was, I think, the first Christmas after we had technically separated, and we were going through the mediation process, and we said, what do we want to do for Christmas? And we're like, let's just go out to dinner, all of us, the four of us. And so we went to dinner, and we were having this lovely dinner, and the waiter came over, and he's like, I just want to tell you guys, you're such a great family. And we all four of us like welled up. And we looked at the kids and we were like, we're always going to be a family, and they have carried that with them,
And maybe even a better family now that you both have your space and are not stuck in something that doesn't feel fulfilling.
Well, I always go back to this. What are we modeling for them?
Mm-hmm.
What are we modeling? It's like life is not always a straight line. It's not always easy and beautiful. It can be really difficult, and you're ever changing as humans. I want to model for them that it's okay. It's okay to change and grow even when it hurts. And when you feel like you're in danger of hurting others in the process, as long as you're being true to yourself, you got to sort of take the leap.
I just got a Christmas card from someone, and it's she and her ex-husband and the kids, and they're all in the card, and they've been divorced for a few years. And she's a newer friend, and I got that card, and I called her right away. I was like, your Christmas card? She goes, yeah, what about it? I was like, this is my favorite card I've gotten this year. She goes, why? I was like, because you and your, I'm not going to name his name, but I was like, you guys, you showed up for each other, but more importantly, you're showing up for your kids. Right?
Yeah. And it's rare and beautiful. And hopefully it won't be as rare moving forward. Hopefully people can remember why they got together in the first place and just try to honor some of that. But I also know that it's hard.
It's so hard. Ego, hurt, shame. Okay. So you get divorced. You have this reawakening. You've got a more spiritual, meditating kind of scene, into yourself and into others. And where along this journey did you meet your new partner, and did it correlate with now what you're doing? Like, how did it all kind of unfold post first divorce?
Yeah. So So I tossed myself out of this marriage and I'm in New York City in my 40s and I'm single and I am super nerdy. Like I really look at life like, okay, let's dig in. This is why does this need to be so awful? Like I took out 3 girlfriends that were single for drinks and they were all like, oh, this is the worst thing you're ever going to do. Good luck. Put on your like armor. It's like there's nobody good. I mean, it went on
Dating's
and on.
fun.
And I
But
was like,
everyone, oh,
I
yeah.
looked at them and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to do this by myself. Like, no, I have no role models. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to dive into dating. So I did. I like sometimes when I give a talk, I'll start the talk with like my original Bumble profile, which is so horrible. It's so horrible. Every picture is just like posing and martini and like party girl Amy. And I wrote literally nothing. And then I end with the Bumble profile that I met when I met Brett, which is, me being goofy and more in 3D and all the things. But I made every mistake you can make. I turbo dated my way through New York City. Don't try this at home. I was dating 4 people on some days, back to back, like mini screener dates. It's one of my signature things, like 45-minute date. And I realized, like, after a couple months that I didn't know what I was doing, that and I had a really big realization. I was on a date with this one guy and we were so mismatched on so many levels, but I was trying so hard to mirror and match him, to make it work, to yes my way through it, to make him like me. And I remember after the date, I'm like, I don't know if I even like this person. I just want him to choose me.
Yeah.
I just want him to choose me. And I'm writing a book right now and I'm writing about, I call it the choose me wound. That's it. Like
Pick me, love me.
yes. And if we are dating from a place of choose me, we're losing ourselves. We're not going to be matched with these people. And I kind of took a step back from dating. I took a break and I said, I haven't done the work to even know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am right now. I don't have a good grasp on my wounds from growing up because we all have them. And this is the question, right? This is the big question. Am I dating from my wound or my worth?
Oh, I love that. Wow.
And most people, when they come to me to work with me, they're dating from their wound.
I'm having a moment.
It's a
If
big
you
one. It's a mic drop,
That's
It's like,
so am I dating for my wound or my worth? Okay. And so you're on this date, you come back from this and you're like, nope, this is
you know
not.
what? Everything I've been doing up to this point has been about being chosen. Everything I've done up to this point is just to get validation, approval, and love in some way to earn, like earning it. I want to earn it. So I took a pause and I realized no one had ever taught me or us how to look at dating through a lens of alignment. We're human beings. Are we even aligned on some of the basic things like core values, like emotional maturity, like readiness? Like people say in their profile, I'm ready and I want this. They'll even nod their way through it the first couple dates. Yeah, me too. Oh, yeah. But most of the time people aren't. They think they're ready, but they're not really ready. How do we
Yeah.
know? I have people come to me all the time. I've been with someone for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. And I said, let's go get the ring. And they said, what are you talking about? I'm not ready for that, right? So I kind of came up with the program I wish I would have had, and it's based around the 4 pillars of aligned love, meaning there are 4 things we need to know on early dates, and we're going to know them through asking intentional questions. The 4 things are this: chemistry, which is tricky because we've been taught that chemistry is like crazy fireworks right away. Not the case. So chemistry, number 1. Core values. Is this person emotionally mature? And is this person ready? So those are the 4 pillars. And that's kind of the heartbeat of my program, is like really helping people start to date from that place, alignment versus being chosen.
And also that's probably like, not just for the people you're dating, but also for yourself, right? Like, do
Well,
you actually fulfill
exactly.
those 4? Because
Yes.
if you're not in those 4, right? If you're not actually available.
And we think we are. And, I have this exercise I have clients do where I'll have them write down every single thing they want in a partner. And then they go through with a highlighter. What things do you need to work on? Because if you want someone who's super adventurous and they're just like spontaneous and they're traveling and you've been stuck in your apartment for the last 2 years, guess what? You have to start living that. You have to start being that. You have to vibrate that. If you want someone who's like never going to have an elephant in the room and they're always going to tell you how they feel and they're always going to, guess what? You have to do that. You have to learn. You have to be vulnerable. And so a lot of the work I do with clients is really, as you said, what work do we have to do so that we can match what we want?
So how did you then kind of apply that for yourself when you met your now husband?
Yeah. I did all the things. I'm a big therapy fan. I read all the books. I mean, I actually started putting together what is now the scaffolding for Love Amy, but I had no idea I was doing it. Like I was
That's
doing
the
this.
best. That's the best part, right?
Yeah, like I was doing this visioning work is what I call it now with like, I had a whole notebook and I was like, okay, these are the traits I want in a person. These are the things I need to work on. How am I going to work on them? I need to date myself. I don't like being alone. Guess what that means? So I started to like,
Unintentionally intentional.
yes, exactly. And I was having so many breakthroughs through this process. So then I started helping friends because they were like watching me and I started to attract totally different people. I started to attract people who were more open and who were ready and meeting me where I was. I always say you attract people at the level of your consciousness. So like as my consciousness opened up, I would start to attract other people, different people. So my friends were noticing I was helping them and helping their friends, which ultimately led me to launch Love Amy. But as I was doing this, I was dating differently. I started to do things really differently. And I was not as afraid of rejection anymore, which really changes the game. And your energy starts to shift. And it was great. I was dating this one guy, and then I met Brett shortly after that. And it just was this, my friends were looking at me like, what is happening? Like, there was so much magic happening. I was having a ball. I was attracting really great people. And I always tell this story, but Brett and I had this first date at Joe and the Juice on the Upper East Side. I sandwiched him in between two other people. I was just coming from Botox, but of course he never knew that. I was like, he's like, your face was really shiny. I'm like, yeah.
Your face was really shiny. Oh, Brett, sweet
Brett.
Brett.
I know. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think he still knows that I had Botox. So we had this 45-minute date and I crossed him off the list afterwards. I walked out and I was like, nah, he's never going to text me again. It's fine. Because, and this is what can happen is we're wearing different masks on a first date and you just don't always know. Sometimes it's like hard to know, he's wickedly funny, but was very serious on the date. I think he was trying to figure me out. He's like, all right, what's going on? I'm talking about meditation and crystals and he's trying to figure out we were both trying to figure out some common ground. We weren't really finding it.
Yeah.
And so I walked away like, no harm. It's fine. And then the next day he texted and just kept texting me and he was getting funnier and funnier. And then he was like, I think we need to go out to dinner. I'm like, sure. And by the end of that dinner,
Sure.
I'm like, okay. And by the end of the dinner, I was like my stomach hurts from laughing. Like, what is going on? And then after the first kiss, I was sort of like, whoa, hold on, something's
Check
going
your
on.
chemistry.
Yeah. And but it's interesting. It started to grow in a different way after that. And so you don't always know. I think we're conditioned to think we do. But our core values were really aligned. And I remember thinking like the way he talked about his daughters, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. It was really beautiful. And so I just kept sort of, exploring and getting curious.
Okay.
So
So
that was
you
happening.
guys, you fall in love and you get married again.
Get married again, 2 years. We're 2
That's
years in.
incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And Love Amy was sort of like percolating in my mind, but to me, it was just a passion project. I was just helping people. And I remember sitting on his couch one day and I was like, I think this is a thing. I think this might be a real thing. And he was like, oh, yes. You have to do this. And never in a million years did I think there would be such a need for it. And it's just been the most incredible journey of my life, really.
Well, what is it now that it's like we're technically the most disconnected that society's ever been, all seeking connection?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's modern dating is broken. It's completely broken. And I think how we envision love and what that means is just scattered.
Hmm.
And, it's interesting. I've been doing this now for 7, 8 years, and I have very few breakups in my orbit. I have a really high success rate, and I keep in touch with everybody. And there are very few breakups. And what that tells me is that when we date intentionally and we're unafraid of rejection, we're unafraid to cut something off just because there might be chemistry, but it's missing something else.
Yeah.
And we don't lower our standards. I mean, a big part of what I do is help mostly women are my clients, and I help women step into their worth and
Yeah.
step into their power so that they have the confidence to say, you know what, he's great on a lot of levels. He really can't talk about his feelings and he won't go to therapy. And I'm not sure he's totally ready, but he really likes me a lot. And I'm going to hang in. It's like, no, we're going to shift from that and say, I'm going to cut the cord. I believe in myself enough to know that even if it takes a little longer, I want to call in someone who is really aligned with me and really makes my happiness their own. And it's a game changer.
But this is also for men too, I think, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of men, a lot of this work that I've done this past year has been majority like targeted, focused, or just naturally fallen towards women, right? Like prenups and Pilates. Two guys signed up and neither of them came. But there's something to be said about men also needing to define what their worth is and what their value is and what their wounds are. Because I do also see so often so many men who are dating someone that's like their mom or dating, it's like a pattern thing, right? And then you were like, why are we getting divorced? Why are we XYZ? What's
Mhm.
happening? And maybe, you married them because you thought A, but the reality is B, and then you try to hold on. And so I don't think it's just women also, right? I think it's a lot of
No, I mean,
who also need to say, hey, do I want this person because I want them, or do I just want to be loved?
oh my gosh, 100%. I have an amazing male client. When I do have male clients, which is, 5% of the time, they're incredible, right? They're open to this kind of work. And a lot of times, because male men right now, they don't have great role models. They had a different generation leading them. And so there's emotional stunting. There's a lack of emotional maturity that they grew up with.
Mhm.
They grow up as they want to take care of their partner, but what does that even mean? It's beyond monetary. It's like,
Mhm.
so they've called in someone who needs to be taken care of. It's oftentimes learning for them how to be vulnerable, learning how to seek out someone who can also meet them where they want to be met, and it's a beautiful thing.
And also, so many of them didn't have good male role models growing up to be
I
like, this
mean,
is how you love someone. This is how
awful.
you communicate with someone. This is if it's not going well, you can actually address it instead of hiding.
Right, and it's okay to be emotional, like, it's okay, and in fact, that's what being human is, and you know, when I'm coaching women, I'm always saying, "We need to find a man who has an equal balance of feminine and masculine energy," which sounds kinda weird, it's not how most men grew up,
Yeah,
and so women want that.
totally. And I think I was just talking to a friend recently. Um, I'm dating these days after a
Mm.
long-term relationship. And it's funny because I really went into my masculine kind
Mhm.
of as a protective.
Yep.
And now I'm like, no, I want to step back into my feminine. I'm like, dating from, right? Like a wound or your worth. And
So how are
it's
you
been
doing
really
that?
interesting.
How are you
Well, I'm
doing it?
not dating at all right now. I did the reverse, which was actually like take a beat, right? Which
Yeah.
was, I had a incident in September, not incident, but a moment in September where I was like, wait, this is not, no, you know,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
let me step back. And there were some people that I had met before September that had been in my radius that I had been, in communication with. But there's another thing I've realized is you can communicate all you want on these apps or someone sets you up with someone and then you have an idea of who the person is, but you don't actually know who the person is. And so
Right.
for me going forward that I'm really leaning into is really meeting people right away and just organically because
Mhm.
the intentionality these days of you can say all the right things, but it doesn't actually mean anything until you're with the person and you can feel their energy and really
Exactly.
you can text anything you want, you can type out anything you want, but doesn't mean really anything at the end.
It's tough. It's tough. I always say, like, the profile's not the person, and we instantly weave a story in our head, and then you're trying to match the story to reality. And so,
Yeah.
no, I think that's right. I think that's right. Is just it's not the same qualities that we were taught on how to get into the right school and get the right job and get the promotion. Those same qualities do not apply here. Like, we've got to pull back on the do, and we just have to
Yeah.
lean into the being. And I mean, I'm watching a client right now. She's 33 in New York City, and she is blossoming. And it all started with meditation and grounding and really like putting away the sword, like just letting someone take care of you in the most micro of ways, even on a date, asking for help. I mean, she's just shifting and growing, and it's just amazing.
I love that. I really do. I think one of the things that's been also really interesting for me this year has been watching and being really proud of friends who historically may have dated chaotically, pull back from the chaos.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep. And just like really look at the negative space and lean into it. It's okay. I mean, I think that the clock is ticking for so many people. It's so tough. And I mean, I have parents all the time who like catfish me. They get on my schedule. I I have an information call with, I think, is Sarah, who's 35. And I get on the phone. I only do phone calls for information calls because I want to read energy. I will not do a video call. And so I get on the phone like, hey, Sarah. And it's like, it's Marsha, her mom. She's not getting any younger. You need to help us
Stop.
all the time. It's insane, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
love,
you also just made me really appreciate my mother because she'll make like little comments, but she would never in a million years
try to sign you up. I
No.
mean, and that just speaks to the pressure that women have in their 30s right now to get married and have kids. And it's all too much. It's all
All
too
right.
much.
So let's talk about this, right? So thoughts on prenups, because I know earlier offline you were like, I have so many thoughts. And that's what we're here for.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm giving you free range. Tell me all your thoughts, and then I'll
Yeah.
start poking.
So I think, listen, you're the expert here. I am such an advocate for prenups because I think, first of all, it's one of those words that has been imprinted as a negative word,
Yeah.
as a dirty word, in traditional roles of a relationship where the man wants to protect himself from this gold digging person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simply not the case at all. If we look at it like a partnership and we look at two individuals who have built really amazing lives, and it's literally outlining some of the core beliefs that each person has and honoring those beliefs no matter what. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And it's also a beautiful discussion. I think people are so afraid. It's like literally like they're in this partnership, and then one person brings up a prenup, and then it's like a thread is pulled and everything devolves. It's like, if we look at it like, we want to ensure we have the best partnership ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know what matters to you. I'll tell you what matters to me. Let's outline it. Let's make sure we're super crystal clear. Sometimes couples, before they do a prenup, they haven't even talked about financial wellness. It's kind of amazing to me.
It is. So, okay, let me ask the question for you, right? When you're coaching couples, like, what do you coach couples on when it comes to finances? Because I feel like it's still such a dirty word. And I'm like, no, I kind of like prenup, right? Everyone's like, ooh, we don't want to
Yeah.
address it. But it's one of the number one reasons that marriages fall apart.
Of course, of course. So I don't counsel couples. I counsel individuals as they're dating.
Yes.
But financial wellness can be a core value and should be for most people. It's like, what does that mean to you? So believe it or not, you should be asking on early dates about financial wellness. And you don't have to say, it's not about like, show me your bank account. It's about like, it's literally about like, what matters to you in your life and what matters to you from a financial perspective. What's your 5-year plan? Like, what is that in a perfect world? What direction are you going in? Just to see, again, on a core values level, are you aligned with someone? And why is financial wellness such a dirty concept? It's like, it really is just part of our human life. And again, it's about alignment. Why would you want to wait until you're married to find out that you're completely misaligned on the finance end?
It's one of those things too where I cannot believe this happened, but I actually had two individuals send me their like exact number that they had. And I was like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see a screenshot. I don't want a number. I don't want anything. I just
A bank
want
statement?
to, yes. And I was like, I am obviously, something that maybe you can help communicate. It's communication, right? It's how do you
Yeah.
coach someone to communicating properly? Because I think there also is a really big difference in being like, hey, one of my insecurities is financial instability because I come, wound
Yes.
from a place of financial instability growing up with parents who were not financially stable.
Mhm.
How do I go into my next chapter, maybe instead of totally course correcting, right, and being overly financially sensitive? Like, what
Yeah.
is that middle layer? And then how do you communicate that to a partner where it doesn't sound, show me, show me your bank account? It's like, no, 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 no.
Totally.
I want to be transparent, but
Well, and
real.
and it's really simple. On early dates, you can talk about core values broadly, right? Like if anyone listening wants to take this core values quiz, it's so great. I'll DM me on Instagram. I'll send it to
Yes.
you. And you can start like my number one is gratitude. So on every date I would ask like what they're grateful for and talk about how I love gratitude and you kind of weave it in and you can say like, yeah, one of the things that I'm really excited about moving forward is like being really like conscious of my finances and having financial wellness. What does that look like to you? Like, are you a saver? Are you a spender? What do you think about debt? Like, are you already looking at your 5-year plan or is that scary? Just the answers to those basic questions are going to give you a really good litmus test. If someone's like, oh, I don't open a bill. Like, yeah, I mean, as long as I got enough to feed myself, I'm good. And I mean, that's very different than someone who's like, oh, I'm hyper. I want to make sure that I have enough for XYZ. And then there's the issue I have. This comes up a lot with my female clients is the issue of cheapness. Someone can be really, really like technically wealthy with, and I remember being on a date. I will never forget this. The bill comes and the guy looks at the check and he looked at me and he's like, and I already knew we were really misaligned on a lot of other things, but he looks through the bill and he goes, did you have 2 or 3 glasses of wine? Like he's literally
No,
like looking through it.
no.
And I looked at him and I said, I probably had 4. I probably had 4. They're probably missing one. Like I was like kidding, but I'm like, it took me how much to get through this date? Trust me.
Oh,
But and I'm outspoken about it's not popular opinion, but I'm very outspoken about chivalry and what that means. And I really do
totally.
love when once you're exclusive, it's a partnership. I get that, and it should be. But in the dating process, I'm a big fan of the man paying for dates and planning dates. And it's not perfect, but I certainly the cheapness factor is an issue, and that can be a deal breaker. It's okay.
Well, it's also the courting, right? Like
Mhm.
you want to be courted. A woman, it's just like it's a thing. And even in, non-heterosexual relationships, you still want to court both ways, and you can court differently, right? Like what your definition of
Yes.
courting is, but you can be generous also in other ways. Like it's a
It's
balance.
generosity of spirit, right? Like you're looking for someone who is generous with their energy, their time, their money, their attention, their listening, their energy, right? And so it's not all about money. So, you want to be generous of spirit normally, but when it comes to courting and chivalry and paying for the date, I do prefer it when in a heterosexual relationship when the man does pay during that phase.
Have you, so, okay, so a lot of your clients, they go on, great dates, end up getting successfully married, as you said, and you stay in touch with them. Have any of them ever reached out to you and said, what do you think of prenups? Or have you, like, is there ever
Oh,
been any engagement in that?
all
Like,
the
are people
time.
like, how do I approach this? Or someone just mentioned to me, my partner was like, I want to do a prenup and I'm offended. How do you help clients navigate that? So it's not
Mhm.
something scary and offensive, and it's actually something that especially a woman can own and be like, this is a negotiation for our future.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of, again, it's about core value alignment in my mind. And so I do get that question a lot. I have a lot of clients who come to me and say, like, I'm so nervous about this. Like, he brought it up or she brought it up, and I don't know, should I be offended and what questions should I be asking? To me, it's just a matter of mindset and education. And I feel like what you're doing is so great because we need to destigmatize the whole idea of what it is. Like if it was called partnership agreement, I think it would, there's just somehow a stigma to the word prenup. It feels very old school, and it feels very like it's skewed against the woman in a heterosexual relationship. And it's simply not the case. It's just not. It's ensuring that, you know, what you enter into a marriage with in terms of, how you look at financial wellness and, literally what you have going
Yeah.
in, but how you want to build this partnership and what makes sense to both of you as a couple. It can be a really beautiful process, and it can be a reassuring process. So I try to help reframe. I'll just send them to you for a whole reframe, but
I love that. Please send them all my way. I'm the queen of let's get a coffee and chat about prenups.
yeah, there you go.
But it's funny you say that because when we're building a software for to make prenups more easily approachable, accessible, and affordable. But I've actually
Amazing.
really focused more on the lawyers because I'm realizing that a lot of these, like, you need a lawyer,
Yeah.
you need a coach. And I played sports my whole life, and when you really get into the thick of it, you need a human. AI is like very helpful, and it can be a great assistant, and it can teach you so much, and it can help you navigate. But you need a human at the end of the day to understand your nuances,
Yeah.
especially when you're getting a prenup. And what's funny is there was a moment when I may not have been able to use the name that we're going with. It's a name that my dad actually came up with, but there was a moment that we weren't sure we were going to be able to use this certain name. And so I went on like a buying spree of domain names like partnerfied.com or our partner nup. I was trying to like do everything but a prenup. And then what's funny is I made these hats, which I'm going to send you one. So
Oh my
I
God,
have a
love.
bunch of hats that say prenup. And what was so interesting is it was so polarizing. And I realized I was like, you know what? I don't want to rename it. I want to destigmatize it. And I want to reduce the taboo around this word because it is it is literally a prenup, right? It is like a conversation that you have before you get married. And it shouldn't be something scary. It should be comfortable and it should be approachable. And the fact that it's triggering this many people.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And I think you're doing such good work. It's just in the
Trying.
messaging, and it's just the reframing of it. And you know, the more work you do out there, but I think once people realize that it can be empowering, not, not the opposite, that it makes them feel like they really have a handle on who they are and who they're marrying, and that you're on the same page, you want success for one another. I think that actually can really empower the whole relationship.
Totally. What about have you, I mean, just, in your friend sphere, your client sphere, et cetera, have you seen also a shift in people maybe not wanting to necessarily just get married and to just have, like a cohabitation partnership or like what is kind of is the goal still to get married?
So it's really interesting. It's such a good question. I mean, every headline, every other day in the Wall Street Journal, in New York Times, all over, the headlines are insane right now. Like the stigma that marriage and partnership and there's nobody good and nobody wants to get married anymore. I am seeing the opposite.
Yeah.
I am seeing the total opposite. Like I had last year, I was working with 5 women at the same time, all over the country, 40 plus, never been married, and some had kids on their own, some didn't. And when I asked the question on my intake form, what's the biggest plot twist of your life? They each had separately answered the exact same way, that I never got married. And all of 5 of them are ending up getting married, like one's in their 40s, 50s, 2 in their 60s. I mean, we do ultimately, this is just my data, it's what I find, is that ultimately people really want a partner and they love the idea of entering into a legal marriage together. But
Yeah.
because we grew up with, a lot of us, with role models that weren't great, that with marriages that fell apart, and there's a lot of nuclear fallout from those divorces, that the the biggest fear people tell me that they have is to choose wrong, because they really fear that if they can't trust themselves and they make the wrong choice and they end up divorced, it'll be horrible. But ultimately what I see is people do want marriage.
It's
They
a
do.
commitment, right? And there's something really beautiful in being able to commit to somebody and having them commit to you. Listen, I'm a big proponent of marriage. I'm also a
Mhm.
big proponent of prenups before you get married and then a financial advisor after you get married. But I do
Hallelujah.
also, I do also think, there's something to be said about maybe also at the end of the day, destigmatizing divorce.
Mhm.
Right? Like divorce shouldn't be taken lightly. You shouldn't be like, oh, I'm having a bad week with my partner. Let me start like noodling on how to get out of this. No, it's years and years
True.
and years, months, whatever it might be of really deciding if it works for you. But I also think that there's something to be said about I don't love how we as a society paint divorce as a failure because there's so many great years in there and oftentimes there's kids involved and like those kids aren't a failure, right? There's a way
Exactly.
to rewrite divorce.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's how we have positioned it culturally. And, it's interesting to me, like when I was getting a divorce, how many people said, like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I had this one friend who said, oh my God, congrats. And I was like, yes, thank
Thank
you. It,
you.
it feels like congrats. It feels like, wow, you've made this obviously really tough choice for yourself and you're jumping off this cliff into the next chapter. So congratulations. So to me, I was like, wow. And that's very indicative of what you're saying is that in this culture, it's looked at like, oh, shrouded in like negativity and like, I'm so sorry. It's hard to shift, but I think we need to shift it.
And I think there's also something to be said about if it didn't feel like quote unquote such, in quotation marks, a failure, maybe people wouldn't be so horrible to each other in the midst of the process. And it would reduce kind of the fumbling because so many people's egos get involved. And it's like, you're going to divorce me? What are
Well,
you talking about?
because we're never taught about alignment. If we can say like, listen, we really gave it a go and we were together 10 good years, but we're no longer aligned in these ways. Can you see that? Versus you're not lovable. I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
It's different. And I just think it's so tied up in our emotions that, we've just never been taught otherwise.
Yeah. And it's also a lot of like self being like, it's not just you, it's me too. And I think also like accountability when it comes to if it's not working.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, this was amazing. Hopefully I'll see you next week. But this was such a wonderful, conversation, all
Thank
of
you,
it.
Lily.
Thank you for coming on. I can't wait to share the 4 steps, when we, go live in a post and kind of dive deeper with you on them. But I love what you're doing. I love how you're supporting people finding their partners because
Thank
I
you.
do think there's still something so beautiful in finding your partner. And I hope every couple out there finds their person, gets a great prenup and continues to get married and have these great relationships. So
Yeah, well, thank you for all the work you're doing, and we're on the same team. I love it, and we have to like battle the negative stigma around love and dating right now is so insidious, and
yeah. I
you
also think
know,
like even the bad dates, I don't even want to call them bad dates. I think every date is fun. And it's just like how you frame it. And sometimes you're like, what just happened?
but yes, I want to comment on this. If we look back at our dating lives, you can connect the dots. It's like there's a lesson to be learned, even if the lesson is, wow, that's what I don't want. And I'm not bothered by this anymore. I'm not going to get emotional about someone I'm not aligned with. That's growth. So even if you go on a date, I always know a client is growing when they report back and they're like, you know what, that was the worst date of my life. And they're laughing and they're like, but you know what? Good for Joe. Joe will find his match,
Yeah,
right? Versus
totally.
versus like that was a personal assault on me. What is the universe doing to me? It's like once you make the shift and you can really understand how the universe works and that you are learning whatever you need to learn before your person comes, it's a whole different journey and you can have fun with it. Like I remember I remember this, I was on a date with this guy and we agreed 3 minutes in, like, this is not going to go anywhere. And then, but we were high-fiving. I'm like, I have a friend for you. Like,
Yeah.
it is what
I'm
it is.
I'm a big believer in that if you're not for me, you're for someone else. And like maybe it's one of my friends. Totally. I love that. I also, to your point of like, it's not negative to have a date that didn't pan out the way you wanted it to, right? Like it's still an experience. You got to meet
Yeah.
someone new. And I mean, it also takes two to tango. This whole like, oh, there's no men out there. Like there's plenty of men out there. I
Oh,
have dated some great guys recently, like wonderful
good.
people, but they're not my people.
Well, my favorite is when I know I have to go, but my favorite is when a client in New York City says like, okay, there's literally no one good left. Should I move? I'm like, and where are you going to move to? Because New York City is literally the best place on earth to date.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, this was awesome. I'm so appreciative. I already can tell in my head that there's going to be a number 2 for us. But
oh yeah, I'm down.
and
for sure.
when's your book coming out? Or is
Yeah,
it
not till next year.
Okay.
So I'm writing it now, but I'm super excited. I'll keep you
I
posted.
can't wait to read it.
Thank
I'm
you, Lily.
thrilled. Awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for today.